Hey everybody, and welcome to this last module in Module 6, which is all about rules, triggers, and actually sequences. So this is automating all the different pieces that we have set up so far in ConvertKit. The forms, the tags, the sequences, all of those things can be automated. And this is the beauty of email marketing, is the automation. So if you have a webinar and you want to do a follow-up sequence, right? And you want to automate that to try to get people to purchase a product. If you are just doing a straight upsell, I mean, this is what rules and triggers and sequences are all about. So rules and triggers are really your what if, then do this. So it's a what if this, then do what. That's really what a rule and a trigger is all about, okay? So we're going to talk about what's a rule, what's a trigger, why do you need them? We're also going to touch on sales funnels, and then we're also going to look at the automation blueprints that ConvertKit gives you as samples. And what I really, really recommend is that you look at the samples that they provide and then use the sample to create your own sequence so you understand the power of what works. One of the great things about ConvertKit that I found is it gives you some really great blueprints to start with. Obviously, you can use the blueprints that are here for this sample, but what it allows you to do and help your clients kind of write the content that they need to do whatever actions and meet whatever expectations are for a specific sequence. So what's a rule? It uses if this then that logic. So it's an if statement for those of you who've done programming, which I used to do. If this then that will automate a process. So for instance, if somebody signs up for my freebie on my website, then do what? Well, then sign them into a sequence, right? Which means you've created the sequence. So this is where you're pulling all the pieces together. So they sign up, they get added to a sequence, which a sequence is a series of emails, also known as an autoresponder. Then they also get added a tag, because remember, we're not working in list in ConvertKit. They get a tag so you can easily track them. And then maybe from there, that's the whole sequence, right? And then the sequence that works with it is within each of the emails in the autoresponder, or the sequence as it's called. Maybe there's a link. You can actually have a trigger on a link to track if somebody is interested. In other words, somebody clicks on a link, then you can pinpoint those people, and then you could actually send them some additional information because they were interested enough to click on a link. So there's so much power to this, but I don't want you to get overwhelming. Okay, or overwhelmed, I should say. So a rule uses triggers and actions, which we're going to talk about that. So basically, a rule is just an if statement. Well, if this happens, then do what? Right? And that's what the whole sequence is all about. So why do you need these? They truly automate a process. Otherwise, a lot of times you'll have what's called a leaky sales funnel. And we're going to talk about sales funnels here in just a minute. But basically what a sales funnel is, it's a way to turn somebody into a client. So you basically bring somebody into your marketing system, which is called your sales funnel. So we'll go into that in just a little more detail here in a minute. But basically we'll automate processes for purchases. So if somebody purchases something, if they purchase a digital course from you, okay, an automation using these rules and triggers and actions, what it can do is actually, start a sequence, and the sequence maybe sends them the login details and gives them access to the course. It also adds a tag so you can track them, right? And then it also integrates with the e-commerce package that you have, Gumroad or whatever it might be. It could be a follow-up to a webinar. It could be a follow-up to the free offer. Because what you want to do is when somebody gets on your list, you want to keep having conversations with them. You don't just want to go quiet or silent. And by automating these processes, you don't have to remember to flick the switch every time. The system does it for you. Remember, it's all about working smarter, not harder. We don't have to work that hard. We can set the automation up. And this could be something you could do as a service. And then obviously you could upsell, part of your sales funnel is you'll have lower price products that you can upsell people into higher price products. And automate pulls everything you've learned all together, all the pieces together. So a trigger is what starts the rule. Okay, that's what starts the whole automation. Something has to happen. There has to be a trigger. Somebody signed up on your website. They clicked a button. They filled out a form, right? It's actually the trigger that starts the automation. This is the first step in that whole automation. Okay, and then there's an action. So once the trigger has happened, what's next? Well, you add them to a sequence. You add a tag. You remove a tag. You complete a purchase. It's the actual step to take in the overall automation. Now we're actually going to do these. I'm just wanting to explain what the different pieces are. Just remember, it's just an if question. If this happens, what do I do? And in order for it to happen, you have to have actions to take on whatever that trigger is. So what if this happens? This being the trigger, right? And then the action takes place. Okay. So sales funnels are one of those things that for me, it took me forever to figure. I mean, I understood the concept, but I just could wrap my brain around it for so long. And there's different types of sales funnels. There's sales funnels for service-based businesses, which is what a VA is. And then there's sales funnels for people who sell products and services, which I do. And they're different. A service-based business has, in my opinion, a shorter sales funnel than somebody who sells multiple products and services because they're different price points and people have to go through different ways to get to it. So I'm actually producing a sales funnel class, which will be outside of the VA school. It'll be a separate product, so that will be coming shortly. But basically, a sales funnel is your marketing system. And if there's holes in your marketing system, you're losing money. It's basically bottom line. It's the ideal process you intend your customers to experience as they go from prospects to lead to customer to repeat buyer. Okay, that's your whole marketing system, right? The goal is to get somebody to buy something from you and then continue to buy something from you over and over again. Okay. When it comes to sales funnels, you need to have a roadmap or blueprint. What are the services that you're offering? So for instance, if you're a VA, most of the time you just have one service, right? One product, it's you, right? So you want to lead people from a prospect to lead to customer to repeat buyer, right? And that means you want them to get on your list. So yes, VAs need to have a list. You want to give them valuable information about the services that you provide, have them become a customer, and then have them sign up on a retainer basis so they come back every month in and out. So in order for a sales funnel to really work correctly, it needs to have a roadmap or blueprint. In other words, how does it get to where it's going? What are the goals? What are the triggers? What are the actions? How do you take somebody from prospect to lead to customer to repeat buyer? What does that look like? And then you need to have a way in the funnel and a way out of the funnel, because people sometimes will want out of the funnel and you don't want to spam them. So you need to make sure you have a way out as well. Okay. And then lastly, there's something called automation blueprints. And these are samples provided by ConvertKit. Oops, it says for ConvertKit. It should say by ConvertKit. Sorry, we need to fix that. Typo. It's great because it gives you step-by-step instructions. And this, I'm going to give you homework that has specifics in it, but I want you to actually look at what ConvertKit has and create one of those on your own on the fly so you can really understand how these works, because this is so beneficial. You're going to create sequence and track your results. That's basically what you do with automations. You create a sequence, you track the results. You remove people who don't want to be part of that sequence anymore. They've lost interest. Maybe they already purchased. And then you want to upsell and downsell. So upsell would be to upsell somebody to something more expensive, or maybe you can downsell them to something less expensive for them to become a client for the first time. So let's pop over to automations. Okay, and we're talking rules. We already did RSS feeds, we already did integrations. Rules are going to pull everything together. All your forms, all your sequences, your subscribers, as well as your tags. So we're going to hit add a rule. Okay, and so here's your rule. Remember, your trigger is what happens. What's that trigger? What sets this whole thing in motion? And these are similar to what are called campaigns in Infusionsoft. Okay, they're called automations in the tool that I use called Simplero. But basically, the trigger is what they subscribe to a sequence. They subscribe to a form. Form is usually the most popular way to start a sequence. They complete a sequence. They click on a link. They add a tag. They remove a tag. So we're going to start with a form. So let's say that there's a form on my website, and what I want to do is set up the sequence that when they sign up for my free offer, I add a tag, and then I actually subscribe them to a sequence that helps me sell them into maybe becoming a lead or becoming a customer. Okay. So obviously, in order for automations to work, you have had to create the pieces of the automation, which means if I want to subscribe to a form, I need to have the form created. So let's say this is my free top tips form. All right, do I have free goodies? Yeah. Okay. So let's say that's the form on my website to gather information to get people into my sales funnel. That's the first step. Remember, sales funnel equals marketing system. Okay, that's the first step. So once the triggers are, and you can have multiple triggers. Okay. You notice I can have more than one. And then it says, okay, what's the action I take? So once this person signs up, once Julie signs up for my free top tips form on my website, what do I do then? Well, I do a number of things. I'm going to add a tag. Okay. So I can say, sign up for my freebie. Otherwise, I can actually say, oops, I forgot the R. Okay. Oops. All right, now it's just being, let's just go back to that. It doesn't want me to do it on the fly, which is fine. Okay, so here's my trigger, here's my action, okay? And then I can also go in and say, okay, I want to subscribe to this. So they subscribe to my form, okay? I add a tag and I subscribe them to a sequence. Now I can do additionals. Oh, you know what? I have too many here. Hold on. Oops. There we go. Okay. There we go. So it creates it. It's called the subscribes to a form called Freebie Goodies. And then I add a tag. And I also subscribe to a sequence. And then enabled means that it's working. It's that simple. But in order for you to understand what to do, you're going to have to lay out that roadmap. In other words, what are the actions and what are the triggers? If somebody signs up for that form, what's the next thing that they want to do? So setting up the automation is simple, but what you need to do, where the time consuming thing is to figure out, okay, what action happens, what trigger happens, what action happens, and map all that out. So part of this, what I really recommend is look at these rule blueprints. Okay, so automation blueprints. Look, it gives you, here's an automated sales funnel. Here's one that allows you subscribers to set email preferences and so on. Here's also a survey. So you have some different ones that you can choose. One of the other things I want to show you real quick, so I could go back into this one and I could add another, right? I could say, clicks a link. Okay, so if there is a link in, let's say, a sequence that you send. Actually, you know what? Let me create a different one. Hold on. And you can disable a rule, by the way, by clicking there. Let me go back. So I'm going to add one. And let's say that a user clicks a link. Oops. Oh, let's say this is going to go into a broadcast. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to show you that you can have link triggers, okay? Which means that if somebody clicks on this and I can do something specific, I can really understand who has interest in maybe a broadcast that I sent out about the VA school. And if they click on it, then I'm going to tag them so I can easily then have a conversation specific to them. Remember, the beauty of tags is to segment your list so you can have a specific conversation with them. Okay. So now I have that one. Okay. Now, if I was to go into a sequence, so let's say, I'm just going to go into a sequence. I'm going to select and put my link in there. Okay. Oops. Or I could just go in and do the VA school like that. And now you can see that that's actually a trigger. And so now when somebody clicks on that, it will automatically say, oh, okay, Susan clicked on it. Now we need to tag her as having an interest in the VA school. So now I can set up a whole different sequence to have a conversation with her. So do you see how this all ties together? Okay. To me, it's brilliant because it automates. And remember, these are different emails that are provided for you by ConvertKit. So going back to automation. Okay, so here's my clicks a link. So I can have several of these. And the beauty is with your sales funnel, let's say you have 4 different products that you're going to sell. What you want to do is have 4 different automation rules based on where those fall in a sales funnel. Okay. So remember, a sales funnel is just a marketing system. So creating a rule. You're using triggers and actions. Remember, a trigger is what starts the whole thing off, and then the actions are the actual action that takes place once the trigger has triggered. You want to have a map of what you want the automation to do and its results. So for instance, they sign up on a form, you sign them up to a sequence, you tag them, and the ultimate goal of this whole thing is to get them to purchase a product from you. So that's kind of what this little idea is here. Okay, so simple but complex. In other words, it's very simple to actually set up the automation rules. The work goes into actually going through and creating the blueprint, the roadmap, the work frame, whatever you want to call it. Now, if I come in here and click on this automated blueprints, look how it shows me exactly what to do. So I recommend that you come in here and look at this, and it will really give you a really good idea of how it works. Now, I actually have a roadmap for you for homework, which I think will make a whole lot more sense. But remember, what this is doing is it's bringing everything that we've done in ConvertKit together, right? Bringing it all together, using the tool to actually help you sell more, whatever your products or services are. So what I'd like you to do is use the document. There's an example document under download, so you'll want to download that first and use that to create a simple automation, okay? Test it out to be sure that it works. So, you know, if it's a form on your website, because I am going to ask you to do some extra things, but you want to test it out to make sure it works. Create one of your own if you want. Use any of the samples that ConvertKit has, or just create one of your own and try it on your own website, and then share any ahas that you have, because hopefully now you can see all of the pieces have come together on how you can use ConvertKit. So as always, if you need help, feel free to click the help button in the upper right-hand corner, send us an email, members@thetechiementor.com, post in our private Facebook group, or comment below, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for your time. See you in the next session. We're going to talk more about packaging. Bye.